Platoon is one of those movies that is mostly famous for one scene. I don't want to spoil it, so I'll just show footage of this scene from Tropic Thunder instead, which is a parody of the scene in question. Needless to say that the scene in Platoon isn't played for laughs, is executed really well, and deserves to be ranked amongst the most iconic movie death scenes of all time. But the truth is there's much more to Platoon than that scene alone. Platoon is one of the most effective war movies ever made, and in this video, I'd like to explain why. Platoon was directed by Oliver Stone, who was an actual Vietnam War veteran, so right off the bat you can tell that his input raised the authenticity of the film tremendously. The cast of Platoon is, in a word, stacked. Charlie Sheen leads the pack, clearly walking in his father's footsteps, long before the parodies and the sitcoms, might I add, and he's supported by genuine all-stars such as Tom Berenger, Willem Dafoe, Keith David, Forrest Whitaker, John C. McGinley, Johnny Depp. The list goes on. It's crazy to think this, but with the exception of Berenger and Dafoe, all of these big names were just starting out. The pre-production of this film is the stuff of legends. The cast had to go through an intense and immersive 30-day military-style training regimen. They ate the same food the soldiers in Vietnam ate, and the production crew kept waking them up during the night by firing blanks at them. All of this and more helped the film achieve its desired goal, which was to depict a very realistic portrayal of Nam. Platoon does a great job in really making you feel like you're there. There's a heavy emphasis on the harsh conditions these poor souls had to live with. Ants, mosquitoes, leeches, rain, mud. The film isn't trying to be pretty. The soldiers are sweaty, tired, and, unfortunately, more often than not, covered in blood, which really makes you feel like they're going through hell. The film does an excellent job of painting a bleak picture. Another way the film doesn't try to be pretty is with its violence. The violence in this movie gets brutal. Some images in this film will be seared in my mind for a long time, I can tell. Something about the way the violence was shown was really effective. When people die, and trust me, it happens a lot, you feel it. It was very convincing. The handheld, in-your-face cinematography, coupled with the frantic editing and the great performances, led to a very raw, surface-level, real look at the harrowing reality of warfare. On a technical level, the film is very well made. But even though Platoon has its fair share of gunfights, the main focus of the film is on the day-to-day reality of Vietnam, the interactions between the platoon members, and the shady politics that dictate the proceedings. This is where the heart of the film truly lies. We follow Charlie Sheen's character as he's stuck between a rock and a hard place. No, I'm not talking about the war, I'm talking about the power struggle that is happening in the American camp between Willem Dafoe and Tom Berenger. Willem Dafoe was great in the movie as the more likable and sympathetic Sergeant Elias, but Tom Berenger is the MVP of this film for me. He plays Staff Sergeant Barnes, a cold-blooded, hard man who doesn't tolerate weakness of any sort. His character might seem over the top and cliched to some, what with the scars on his face and his icy, macho attitude, but Berenger's intense performance elevates the character to one of the most memorable villains in war movie history. If you ask me, he should have won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor that year. He definitely deserved it more than Michael Caine in Hannah and Her Sisters. Not that Michael Caine didn't do a good job as well, but he's not in the same league. Other than these two, I also loved Keith David in the movie. This dude is an absolute cult movie legend, starring in both The Thing and They Live, two of John Carpenter's best films. I loved him in those movies, and I loved him in Platoon as well. He had a way more laid-back and cool vibe to him, and he helps Charlie Sheen's character achieve a base level of sanity. The rest of the cast does a great job as well, and all of them are memorable in their own way. Oh, and because I can't think of a good place to talk about it, I'll just say this right now. The main theme of this movie is wonderful. Terrific music. As for the negatives, there aren't many. Charlie Sheen does a good job, but not as much as the other actors. Also, he narrates the movie, and his narration is serviceable. At times, he adds a slightly poetic element to the narrative, which was nice, but at other times, especially at the very end, his narration feels very ham-fisted and on the nose. This is probably the biggest problem I have with the movie. It does get a bit preachy at parts. This film definitely has an agenda. It's one of the most political movies to win Best Picture up to that point. That's all well and good, but it was really apparent that the film is trying to manipulate you throughout, especially during the scenes where we see how the military military treated the natives. You can think of that what you will, and the film has every right to further a point of view. I just personally don't like it when a movie strawmans one side to such a degree that it feels purposefully manipulative. But with that being said, if I'm being honest, this didn't really bother me that much. As a whole, Platoon is a tense, visceral, and terrifically made Vietnam War movie with memorable characters, and you should definitely check it out at least once if you haven't already. Platoon for me beats The Deer Hunter when it comes to the Vietnam War Best Picture winners. It's more engaging, it has a faster pace, and the characters are more interesting. It's also the Best Picture winner of the 80s so far, aside from Amadeus. Definitely a worthy winner and an easy recommendation from yours truly. Up next is the 60th Best Picture winner, an American and British production, directed by an Italian, which tells the story of a Chinese emperor. Talk about a mishmash. The Last Emperor. Check back again for the next video of DB Reviews Oscar Madness Marathon and subscribe to my channel so you won't miss a thing. Thank you all very much, and let the journey continue.